Welcome to the Flippin' Hippos Reseller channel. I'm Star. If you're new here or you have not yet, please consider subscribing and hitting the thumbs up to help us feed all of our hungry hippos. Today I want to talk about promoted listings on eBay. Ever since promoted listings has been a thing, we've promoted our listings. It kind of felt like if everyone is going to do it, you have to do it as well to stay relevant and compete with all of the other sellers on eBay. If promoted listings are getting preferential treatment in the searches and getting more sales, then obviously you want to do the promoted listings. There are many things that you can do on eBay to boost your visibility, your store's visibility, and your listings visibility in the searches. And I am a firm believer in doing all of these things together in tandem and not messing with the formula. If it's working, as my mother used to say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we've just always done these things. Now, I can tell you there have been times in the past where I have forgot to set up a sale and our sales slowed down. And I would find out why. I have never not had my listings promoted, and I think 7 years. I want to say when they first rolled out promoted listings, I remember specifically it was a summer. It might have been 2018. So we'll say 7 years. Prior to that, only like big businesses and big box stores were allowed to promote their listings and do ads on eBay, and then they made it available to everyone. And for a number of years, we always did the 1% blanket on everything. Now we're at 2% because that seems to be the general consensus. You have to have the minimum of 2% for them to be effective. Some people do more. I don't think you need to do more, but you do you. It's your business. I recommend at least 2 and then go from there. If you feel like you need more, you can experiment. But I don't want to give them any more money than I have to. So we do 2% on everything. And I do have them start and stop the same way I do my sales. I have a theory that if you have an end date on a promoted listing campaign, as you get closer to that end date, the algorithm will see, hey, on Friday when this campaign ends, the 2% extra we're getting is going to go away. This is just a theory. I can't prove it. I don't really think we can prove much about the theories and things people say helps you with the searches, other than time-tested experiments that we've all done on our own. We've tried not having sales. We've tried not delisting, relisting. We've tried all of these things, and you can tell when your sales go up or down. But I have this theory that if you have an open-ended campaign forever, you're just going to kind of get seen along with everyone else at the same percent of promoted as you, and maybe a little bit above if you're doing all those other things I talked about doing together in tandem. I actually have a video. It's kind of lengthy. It's almost an hour, but I do have a video out there talking more specifically and more in depth on how we run our promoted listings and why we start and stop them, as well as 3 other things we do to increase our chances of having better visibility and why we do them all together in tandem. I'll have it pop up at the end. I highly recommend this video, even if it's an hour long. If you have some time to run it in the background while you're working, at least just listen to it one time. There's a lot of good information in there. So every Friday, as part of my routine, I go in the back end of my eBay and I set up all my sales for the upcoming week, and I set up a new promoted campaign, 2% across the board, every item in my store, grabbing new items as they come in throughout the week. And then I set it up to end on Friday at a specific time so that I know to go in like a half an hour after that and set it up again. I run them every Friday to Friday. Well, Memorial Day weekend, I forgot to go in and set up my promoted. I set up my sales that day. I don't know how that's like after 7 years of doing this. somehow, Memorial Day weekend Friday, I did not set up a new campaign for promoted listings. I had my sales set up. I did everything else I do on a Friday plus extra because we took that Monday off. I didn't work Monday, so I was setting myself up to have that 3 days off and be successful, making sure my listings are scheduled out on eBay, making sure I have lists perfectly set up to share my closet on Poshmark. I send my offers for me. And I didn't know that I didn't set them up. I didn't actively do any investigation or research until the following Thursday. So here's how I found out. And this is why we're talking about this today. We're having story time today because my sales tanked like really bad. So we had a very good Memorial Day weekend. We sold a lot of stuff on Monday even. And Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, zero sale days, just on eBay. All the other platforms were still doing really well. And that's typically when it tells me that something's wrong on the platform that's really slow. If you are going along business as usual, you're getting the regular amount of sales for you, whatever that looks like, on all the platforms you sell on, and then you have 3 0 sale days across the board on all the platforms, something's really wrong. I would say the economy, or you have something going on, but you still need to investigate. Always investigate. Always figure out what's going on. So I first chalked up Tuesday to 0 sales on eBay because we had sold so much over the weekend, and maybe people, after the holiday were going back to work. They'd spend all their money on cookouts and parties and alcohol. Nobody had money. Nobody was shopping. Although even Macari was still doing well, and that's rare. Even Macari was still having at least one daily sale a week. Nope. One daily sale a day that week. That's what I meant to say. So Tuesday, I still had a trifecta. I had sales on Etsy, Poshmark, and Macari, but nothing on eBay. Well, still, maybe people are out of money. Wednesday, 0 sales on eBay. Other platforms still doing okay. So Thursday, when I woke up and I still had 0 sales on eBay and nothing, and things going out on all the other platforms, I had already checked that week to make sure my scheduled listings were coming live and that I had all my sales running and everything. I hadn't checked my promoted listing because that's just not something I look at, I guess. Now it will be, for sure. Here's a good lesson. Here's how you can learn from my mistakes. So that Thursday, I discovered that the Friday prior, my promoted listing campaign ended. And it didn't affect us adversely until 3 days later. So they ended on Friday. I had a good weekend. I had a good holiday Monday of sales. And Tuesday was a Thursday. Just nothing. 0 sale days on eBay. Absolutely not one sale for 3 days with 5,420 some listings active. And it's got to be the promoted listings. It's got to be, I think, to myself that morning as I discovered it and was angry at myself. I don't know if when you turn off the promoted listings or any of these other things that give you that boost in the searches, maybe it does take a couple of days for the algorithm to see that you're not doing it anymore and adversely affect you. Or maybe I just lucked out because it was a holiday weekend that people were still shopping a lot and it didn't affect me for 3 days, but it did not affect me for 3 days. And then it seriously affected us for those 3 days where we had no sales. So I quickly created another campaign, grabbed all my items in the store, put it at 2% like I always do. And all day, this was like at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, all day that Thursday, still no sales. Not even things to send offers on. No activity. Sold 1, 2 items into the evening. I went to bed and I woke up with like 10 items to ship. And then Friday by lunchtime, there were 5 sales. had another really great weekend. And every day this week, we have had 6 to 10 sales, which is pretty good this time of year, the way things have been. By noon, 6 to 10. Like by lunch, I'm halfway where I should be. So this tells me promoted listings are super important, because when mine ended, unbeknownst to me, by the time that caught up to me and the algorithm saw that I had nothing promoted, even with 5,400 listings active, even with running sales, optimized titles, great photographs, 100% feedback, I want to knock on wood, even with all of the other things in place, I had 3 days in a row with no sales. I wish I had discovered what the problem was sooner. I was checking everything else. Like I said, are my listings coming active that I've scheduled? Do I have listings scheduled? Did something happen to where it glitched out? I checked everything else, and then I finally decided to check the promoted. And as soon as those were turned on, it took like all day Thursday before it really caught on, and then my sales started getting back to normal. And then we had a good week last weekend. I want to keep knocking on wood because I don't want to jinx myself. And we had a good week this week. So to me, that proves that doing promoted listings on eBay is super important. I would not have done this experiment on purpose. There's no way I ever would have said, let me just turn off my promoted listings for a week and see what happens. But look, I accidentally made a mistake and inadvertently did the experiment for all of us, so we can all learn from this mistake. You got to have promoteds. At the very least, do 2% everything in your store, because as my research that I didn't mean to do shows, it is important. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comments below. Go be productive. Go make sure your promoted listings are on and your sales are set up as we go into the weekend. And hopefully everyone will have a great weekend and good sales. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.